So you and I have known each other from since we were young.
15 years old,
Yep.
I think, is when we
Yeah.
first started dating. Those were the good old days. No children, no responsibilities, lived in a tiny little apartment.
Work nights.
Right. Work nights. We'd work our 3 shifts and out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those were the easy days.
If we only
Really.
knew then, because we didn't think we had it easy.
Yeah. Those were the easy days.
Right. I remember the exact day that you were going to do it because you had probably told me, but
Joe doesn't listen a
I
lot.
don't pay attention to things always. But the morning you were going to get your first treatment.
I wanted to say that one. You have to be dead before Joe will take you to the ER. Honest truth.
Yeah. There was a point when I worked in the ER and our youngest got RSV. This was before we knew he had bad asthma. And he was just a baby, probably 8 months old.
Just a baby.
At the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working nights in the ER and I came home and he had RSV and Jill kept waking me up saying, I think he's really sick. And I'm like,
He's fine.
yeah, he just got RSV.
He's
It's okay.
fine.
If anybody works in healthcare, they think that nurses are these just meek little whatever. But if anyone who works in healthcare and has spent time at a nurse's station knows that is a no holds barred place.
You're right.
And that was our dining room table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like our oldest, he definitely he knew the body parts
Oh my gosh.
very well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably too well.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Take It Back podcast. Today's episode is a little different. It's not just about medicine or supplements or what you put on your plate. It's about my marriage. It's about what healing really looks like when life gets hard. I'm joined today by someone who's been in this with me from the very beginning and who really doesn't want to be here. My wife, Jill. Together, we've worked in healthcare for nearly 50 years. And we've raised a family. We've gone through a lot of stress and shift work and rebuilding over time. And today, we're sharing some of that story. Welcome, Jill.
Hi, Joe.
True or false, you're thrilled to be here.
Yeah. Yep. I am thrilled.
Yes, it shows. Well, okay. So we didn't know how
Actually, I don't mind. I'm just, out of my comfort zone.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah. It's kind of cute because you're usually right on top of things.
Yeah.
Okay, Jill, to start, why don't we just tell people who we are, how we met, our little fairy tale story. I'll let you go first.
Okay. So you and I have known each other from since we were young.
15 years old,
Yep.
I think, is when we first started dating.
From high school, college years. I was a nurse first. I always have to remind people of that.
Yes,
started that
true.
journey first. But we've known each other a long time. Been married for 27 years. Been in the healthcare. I've been in the healthcare for 27 years. I've been an RN for 27 years.
Right. Yeah. That's easy for you because we got married the year you became a nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I became a nurse the year after that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact. Yeah. So we were just talking, we moved to Kearney in 2000, I think.
You and I worked together, Brian.
Right. Those were the good old days. No children, no responsibilities, lived in a tiny little apartment.
Work nights.
Right. Work nights. We'd work our 3 shifts and out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those were the easy days.
If we only
Really.
knew then, because we didn't think we had it easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Those were the easy days.
Right. Yeah. Fast forward. And
Then you have children.
right. Yeah.
And you're doing nights,
Mm-hmm. Well, we
days.
spent a lot of time. You worked days. I worked nights. You'd have the kids at night. I'd have the kids at day. For quite a while, we tried to make that work until we finally decided that we had to have some daycare because we were just killing each other off, basically. But that was a long time.
Yeah.
Ships passing in the night, so to speak.
Yeah, right.
Right. I moved into emergency medicine, 20 years ago, something like that. ER, air medical. And you have spent most of that time.
I was at Heartland Surgery Center for a long time.
Yeah, right. Pre-op, post-op, you name it.
Love that job.
Yeah, that was a good job for you. And then I think I tell all my patients our little story that about 6 years ago, we had a little dream that initially it started that we were going to open a clinic in our hometown.
Right. Yeah.
And I tell people it was a very romantic dream. We were going to open a clinic in our little town of Elwood and just move there. Mostly I think that idea came from your watching Netflix shows.
Yeah.
Virgin River, I remember, was one. Yeah. But I didn't know how to do primary care. So I started working in Cozad, and I still have a primary care practice there. But I didn't really like primary care, and mostly because it wasn't romantic. It certainly wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because it's just sick care, and I didn't really feel like I was taking very good care of people. And I think our journey actually started there to wellness.
Yeah, I think that you were doing well. You have to remember that when you started in Cozad was also when COVID was ramping up.
Yeah, shortly after that, COVID
and that was really
started.
hard to watch you do all that and drive there, come home. I'm working. The kids our oldest was trying to graduate. And you're not always around. And I didn't really feel that great myself.
Yeah. I think our journey to being healthier is intertwined with our business and how we take care of people now, 100%. And I think it started more with you than it did with me.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, 100%. Because somewhere in there, we had both become not super healthy, I don't think. And for you, it wasn't really for lack of seeking medical care.
Right.
But you developed diabetes over time, and they treated you exactly the way they're supposed to. They put you on metformin and told you to eat better and move more. And it's really hard when you're a diabetic to work yourself thinner just through straight willpower.
Yeah.
And
in family history of the diabetes, I knew that I had it as a gestational diabetic. I knew that it wasn't going to be easy.
Right. Yeah. So gradually over time, we both kind of gained weight. Prior to that, actually, I have Graves' disease and had to have my thyroid removed. I had radioactive iodine treatment and had my thyroid removed. And that was actually a very long time ago because I spent about 15 or 20 years just being tired all the time, which affected our lives 100% because I was worthless every evening for sure.
Still is. Joe, remember when with the first pregnancy, when I gained weight, you gained 20 pounds? I just remember that.
I do remember that because, yes. I think the first pregnancy, we kind of missed your gestational diabetes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here you were, a gestational diabetic. I was feeding you dilly bar after dilly bar. And the two of us gained weight together.
Yeah,
it was fabulous.
It's just great, right? Till the thing finally. the child really showed its way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have a 10 plus pound child and that was life changing for sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, that should have been our first instinct, that we needed to make some changes to the way we take care of ourselves. But you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we drifted through life for a long time like that. But I think the road to being healthier started with you, with us trying to get your diabetes under control. We, well, first of all, the metformin never agreed with you.
Yeah, no, I couldn't take it. I tried for years.
Yeah, literally.
Literally for years.
And it gave you GI side effects.
Yep.
And I'm not opposed to metformin. Many of my patients take it and I encourage them to, but for certain people, it just does not work well. Until we got you on the first GLP-1 medicine. And that was kind of our first foray into just trying to be healthy instead of treating symptoms, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it wasn't that.
It wasn't that great.
No. Trulicity is what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it did what it was supposed to do. To an extent.
Right. Yeah.
But it was not like fantastic.
No. Your A1C came down, but nothing else improved.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And at the same time that was going on, I was treating patients in my primary care clinic that I was trying to help be thinner. You know, that was kind of the first thing I did was I went back to school to get my obesity medicine degree, or certification, I should say. And I found out how hard it was to help people be thin. And to begin with, I had to meet with nutritionists and diabetic educators, and people just didn't lose weight, even if they were on a GLP-1, like Trulicity. The really good GLP-1s weren't quite out yet, I don't think. And so that's when you and I started experimenting.
Yeah, you had started encouraging me to do the intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And I
think before that, though, we tried a bunch of other things, if you remember. Right? We did Weight Watchers.
Oh, yeah.
I still have my little keychain where I lost some weight with that. And we cycled through a lot of nutritional patterns. We were vegan for about a month.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. But I think we settled into time-restricted eating was the thing that simply worked for us.
It definitely works for me. I know. I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah.
But I just know what works for me.
And we do it to this day. Yeah.
Yes.
Not heavy fasting, but we eat 2 meals a day instead of 3. We fast every morning, and that just clicked with us, and it's what worked.
I am not a good person at counting and logging my calories, but I knew what I needed, and I had a good idea of how many calories was in what it was I was putting in my body.
Yeah.
And by doing intermittent fasting, I knew that I wanted to have my bigger meal with my family. Yeah. And I could do that.
Yeah. That worked really well because that's kind of our sacred time is our evening meal is to sit down as a family and eat. And we could do that fairly unrestricted and still lose weight and be
correct
and be healthier. Yeah. And that was our first dipping our toe into just getting ourselves more healthy because it's hard to take care of people and tell them to be healthy when you're not healthy yourself. And then things evolved from there. And we got involved in hormone replacement therapy, mostly because you tried some.
Yeah, I had a friend that was like, I'm going to go try this testosterone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like I want to try that. I'm not feeling that great myself. Not a lot of energy.
Yeah. I remember the exact day that you were going to do it because you had probably told me, but I
Joe doesn't listen a lot.
Pay attention to things always. But the morning you were going to get your first treatment, and initially you tried pelleting, and I remember you saying, "I'm going to get a pellet in my butt," and I thought, "You're getting a pellet where? What?" But yeah, I mean, it definitely was an improvement for a lot of things in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I went back to school to learn how to do hormone replacement therapy. Mm-hmm. And initially I trained with an OBGYN group in Colorado, in Denver. And that's where my change really started happening, because up until that point, I had only taken levothyroxine. And come to find out years later, I don't convert T4 into T3, and levothyroxine is only T4. Hence, I was tired all the time. And I didn't know there was another way to do things. So it was at that training that they spent a day on thyroid medicine. And I came home and had one of my partners prescribe me a desiccated thyroid. And it was like I was awake for the first time in 20 years, which we would have never built this business with the level of energy I had prior to that, I don't think.
Sometimes I still wonder.
Right? Yeah. But better. And then I think it just evolved from there, you know. Mm-hmm. We treated ourselves, and that carried over into my patients. And then we opened our clinic here 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which has been hard, but yeah. We yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that other than that. We've been very successful, but sometimes success is a double-edged sword. It's just difficult. Yeah. So our producer did prepare some questions, mm-hmm. And for us, and how about we try tackling a couple of them together?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, why don't you tell me which ones we're going to try and do?
Okay. Well, this is the question.
I wanted to say that one. You have to be dead before Joe will take you to the ER. Honest truth.
Yeah. There was a point when I worked in the ER, and our youngest got RSV. This was before we knew he had bad asthma. And he was just a baby, probably 8 months old.
Just a baby
at the time. Mm-hmm. And I was working nights in the ER, and I came home and he had RSV, and Jill kept waking me up saying, "I think he's really sick." And I'm like,
"He's fine."
Yeah, he just got RSV.
He's okay.
Fine. Until you drug him into the clinic, and his oxygen sats were in the low 80s, and he was really not fine. Yeah.
So my motto is always, you have to be dead before Joe will take you to the ER. Honest truth.
Yeah, well, I think
still to this day,
I think I speak for all emergency room providers that we would hate to go in too early.
And even for Joe himself, he has to be in literally AFib, terrible shape, before he'll go to the ER.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm going to fix it myself.
Yep.
Well, I once again, I speak for all emergency room providers when I say we don't want to go in too early. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very common. Okay. Here's the first question.
Okay.
How have our careers shaped the way we care for ourselves and each other?
Well, I feel like, being in healthcare over the years, I can say now, looking back, I can't imagine myself working a 12-hour, 14-hour shift the way I would have been years ago.
Yeah.
That I don't think I could have done it.
Yeah.
I feel like I can now.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think I could have then.
Yeah.
Making myself healthier one, it gives you the energy you need, but two, it just takes all of the extra weight off your body, your joints.
Right.
You just eat better, so you feel better, you sleep better. All of that.
Yeah. I think, don't you also think that working in the careers that we do, it gives you a front row seat to what happens when people wait too long to take care of themselves? I mean, we just talked about, for you and me, what that looked like. But the extreme example of that is when you used to talk about in the surgery center, people coming in that you were surprised they were even working on them in the surgery center because of just all their illness and comorbidities. And I saw year after year of just people who hadn't taken very good care of themselves and were having untimely complications. And I think as you get older, as we were approaching our 50th birthdays, that starts to weigh on you a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And as we get older, then we're also looking at our family.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm watching my parents and seeing sometimes their struggle. And if they could have had maybe the knowledge of the wellness part that we have today, where would they be today?
Right. Yeah. I'll often say if people could see the last 10 years of their life, they would live differently. And I think that's what healthcare, when you work in healthcare, that's what you see. And that should, not always, because it didn't always for us, but it should change the way that you take care of yourself at home and your family. I do, we have 2 boys, and when one boy was headed off to college was about the time we decided to take better care of ourselves. And our other boy was, they were separated quite a distance in age. And so our youngest has had an entirely different environment that he's grown up in.
Well, they say each child has
a different set of parents. Yeah. And that was...
And that is so true.
So true with us. Yeah. And the end result was our college kid would come home and be like, there's no damn food in this house. And we'd be like, there's plenty of food. It's just not the crap we used to eat, Yeah. And our youngest eats the same way we do. He does not eat breakfast. He fasts. He controls his calories. And now our oldest is
we're having to train him.
Yeah. All right. He's learning along with us, but, and we didn't have to train the younger one. He just grew up around it. So, I think that's a direct result of what we saw in our careers and,
I would agree.
Brought home. Yeah. Okay. I have another question. What lessons from the ER or pre-op made their way into your dining table conversations? Our poor children.
I think usually it was ones that were rather funny.
Yes. Yeah.
Were they
heard way too much.
Yeah. Those were the ones that I would come home and instantly share with family, gown put on backwards.
Right. Just everything. Yeah. And if anybody works in healthcare, they think that nurses are these just meek little whatever. But if anyone who works in healthcare and has spent time at a nurse's station knows that is a no holds barred place.
Right.
And that was our dining room table.
Yeah. I feel like our oldest, he definitely he knew the body parts very well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably too well.
Right. We had no problem talking about anatomy or physiology or bodily whatever.
Other times, though, I think the other conversations we would have with each other were either a patient that really touched us.
Yeah.
They were like an amazing person, but struggling with something terrible that really got to us.
Yeah.
Or you flying somebody out that really got to you. You always said that kids bothered you a lot.
I feel
we tried not to talk about that part around the kids.
Yeah. Overall, though, I think our boys learned empathy at the dining room table.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have 2 of them that know that well.
Mm-hmm. Because you bring that home and you talk about those tough cases and they listen. They absorb a lot more. You think they're looking at their phone or not paying attention, but I think they just absorb a lot of it. And I think it's helped shape their personalities, probably in a positive way, I think.
You always hope so, but.
Yeah. Although my oldest had a terrible fear of needles because I used to bring him home in my flight suit and we would put IVs in his teddy bears.
Right.
I didn't know I was traumatizing him at the time.
Right. You thought it was the right thing.
Yeah, right.
You were hoping you were going to train somebody up to be just like you.
Yeah. Yeah. I scared him away from it probably more than anything. But yeah. Okay. All right. How about this? This is a tough one. How did you manage stress and shift work without burning out your relationship?
That's a tough one.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I'll just say it wasn't always perfect.
No.
Yeah. And I think that's modern society too, working parents and
not just healthcare.
Yeah, no, that's everybody that I see anymore. And relationships are hard when you have to spend so much time on yourself, just keeping yourself going, that sometimes there isn't much left over for your significant other.
I think sometimes it's easy to say you need to take the time to go on a trip, just a couple, but sometimes money may not be there for people.
Yeah.
So sometimes it might just be going, even if it's just an outing to Lincoln or Omaha, just as a couple. It is important to do that.
Yeah.
Every now and then. To take a break from the kids. It doesn't mean you don't love them.
Yeah.
But it is important to just focus on each other sometimes.
Building on that, I think you have to give each other some grace.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do sometimes. And that no matter what, we are still we. And I think that's where that getting away. I talk about that sacred time, be that at the dinner table or for you and me. As corny as it sounds, we like to just get in the car and just drive around, and that's when we talk, and it's just our time. And as we've gotten a little older and have a little bit of disposable income, the beach on Jamaica once a year is where we do that too.
Sometimes I have to remember too that even though we are doing this healthcare, you and I, that I shouldn't sometimes rely on you to answer all my questions about healthcare. Like I feel like I hold you accountable, maybe too accountable, to be in charge of my whole entire family's healthcare.
Yeah. Well,
and take care of the kids.
And anybody who, and this is specific to providers. I think when you're a provider, everyone around you just assumes that you can help them, and you want to, but it can quickly become overwhelming. And sometimes you can know too much. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think it's okay to have someone that doesn't know you as well to take care of.
That's why Joe told me I need to find my own provider. He was tired of answering all my questions. Teasing.
Yeah. This next question is right in line with that. What advice do you have for couples in demanding careers? So
don't ever marry a nurse.
Don't marry a nurse. Yeah. Right?
I always tell Joe, the next time I marry, it's going to be somebody in construction.
Who could, she says that because I can't fix anything around the house. I am
He is no maintenance kind of guy.
Absolutely worthless when it comes to anything outside of healthcare. I'll fix your body, but I won't fix your toilet. Yeah, right. I think it's important that couples remember their why. Like, why are you working so hard? We're working so hard because we're trying to build something for our children so they don't have to work so hard. We're trying to create a legacy, and we're trying to demonstrate for them how to fit into society. And
you always want better for your children than what you have.
Yeah, I would agree.
Not just in finances or material things, but just also life and how you raise your family. You want your kids to raise their family better than you did, parent better than you did.
I think something that happens, that I see happen in our marriage and other marriages, is when you go through those tough spots, you can do it one of two ways. You can do it blaming and arguing with each other, or do it as teammates and approaching it together. And sometimes I think you just have to stop and take a deep breath and look for those areas of consensus and realize and remember that, this is a big old world, and we're all we got. We need to be teammates to get through it.
Joe and I have to remind each other of that a lot.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we disagree on how we.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing.
Discipline.
There's one thing to work, right? And you both work, and then there's you work together, and that's an entirely different thing that we're learning how to navigate. Mm-hmm. And we try to approach things 50-50. Neither one of us is the boss, and there will all. Okay. And sometimes I think that's how it works best. Is we all know who's boss. Yeah.
I'm not really. I don't want to be.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But that's a tough one, but I think that's how we approach that. Okay. Was there a moment with a patient or your own health or with each other that made you rethink what wellness actually means? And I think we covered that just a little bit because, for me, that was the revelation that just changing a medicine could be life-changing. But also that, traditional medicine is more about sick care, just treating symptoms. And when we started diving a little deeper, and instead of just worrying about symptoms, but trying to treat underlying things, our life improved.
Also, we have had a few of our patients that have gotten not such great diagnoses.
Yeah.
But they felt pretty darn good.
Yeah.
That when they went through their treatments, I think by feeling maybe better than they would have thought they would have felt has helped them.
Yeah. Wellness that's one of the ways I think our opinion of wellness has evolved over time, is that it's not all about right now and feeling fabulous. It's in preparation. Mm-hmm. So when that bad thing happens, and it is going to happen to all of us, mm-hmm. and we've had patients that we've worked through that, people that we're still working through mm-hmm. that with, that preparation and being as healthy as you can and strong and thin, it'll help you weather that storm better.
I agree.
Yeah. And we've had some patients that have helped us see that, I think. Yeah, that's a really good point, Jill. Okay. How did becoming parents change your understanding of long-term health?
Well, when I was younger, when the kids were younger, I always worried about me leaving this earth and them without a mom.
Yeah.
I always worried about that.
You talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worried about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry about it so much today.
Yeah.
But I think that I'm healthier now. Maybe that's why I don't worry so much
Well, I think they're older.
about that. And they're old.
We've done the damage we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we both, I think, feel like they could navigate this world if they needed to. But prior to children, you don't think about that.
No.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah. That's, I would agree. That changes everything the moment you have that little kiddo.
And then you always think, what's wrong with them? You know, like I would get all my nursing books out because he wasn't doing this on this time frame and he wasn't doing this at this time frame. And
yeah. Yeah. Well, you do start thinking about, not only your own wellness, but the wellness of your children.
sure.
Yeah. And our poor pediatrician that first year.
You remember when Dr. Schaefer, Dr. Schaefer handed me a prescription for Benadryl and said, here, give it to him.
Yeah. Because we were
Up all night.
Yeah. And I think in a month's time we had lots of visits over and over again because we had a colicky child. And yep. Mm-hmm. And he finally broke down and was just like, give him Benadryl. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So you do start thinking about those things. Many of our patients, their why is that they want to be there for their children as they age, and they want to be there for their grandchildren, mm-hmm. and they want to be able to do the things with their kids that they want to do. And I think we do a terrible job of that in primary care medicine.
I would agree.
You know, we wait till somebody gets sick and then we treat their symptoms when we should be starting way earlier, preventing their heart disease, helping them be thin, keeping them strong, so they can enjoy those moments.
Today I sometimes think, where would I be? What would I be like if I hadn't done what I've done? I don't know.
Do you mean like getting healthier?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine where we would be, Jill. Honestly, we'd both be a lot heavier. We'd both be a lot sicker. I would be on a lot more medication, I feel like. Yeah. When you were having chronic pain too, I mean, you had joint pain, you had back pain, and it was a daily, nightly in particular, saying you couldn't sleep, you couldn't get comfortable. I was on blood pressure medicine. Right. Yeah. All those things have gotten better. And for me, you know, it goes back to that fatigue thing. I was worthless. I could just barely get through the day at work and then come home, and there was no productivity after that point. I think when you take better care of yourself and you focus on wellness, your children, if you start younger, your children see that. Mm-hmm. And they know how to live their lives better. Yeah. If you start that cycle early, it will just continue to be the normal cycle for a long time in that family. But if you don't start somewhere, you'll never start that cycle. Right. Yeah. 100%. And that honestly leads into this next question. What do you wish you had known 10 or 20 years ago about staying healthy and staying energized? Because you talked about, like, where would we be today if we hadn't started 5 years ago on this journey to better health? What if we started 20 years ago? Right. Yeah. And so I feel like because I started my journey, I've actually started my family, my immediate family, right,
has started their journey. I have kind of gotten them to do some of these things. And I've been able to see them in a better way.
Yeah.
They feel better.
Right.
I think if they could have done that in their younger years, they'd even feel better.
Good health is contagious.
Yeah.
And we see it in our own family. We see it in our patients.
Yeah.
It always, not always, but almost always starts with mama. Mama comes in and, and it's just our simple stuff. Let's be thinner. Let's be stronger. Let's find ourselves again and be a little bit happy. And
then he comes in.
Then he comes in because he can't keep up anymore, right? Yeah.
Or he doesn't like that she feels good and he doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm. And then it just goes from there, because then we get other family members, and we treat whole families here because good health is contagious. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think being healthy doesn't have to mean punishing yourself. And that's something I think 20 years ago I would have thought was the case. Like you have to starve yourself every day. You got to white knuckle it to the gym. You have to do all these things. But we've really done this. I mean, it's taken a lot of trial and error. But our nutrition is a great example. That has, once we figured out what worked for us, there isn't a lot of effort to that.
No.
Yeah. I would have never thought that.
I mean, the only thing will be is that you still have to keep yourself accountable, meaning you gotta get yourself back on the scale every week. And when you see those numbers go up like they do, you got to rein it back in.
Yeah.
You can't let yourself get back out of control. And I say that to myself every week. Nope, not going back there.
Yeah. It's a journey. It is not a destination. You'll never be there. Yeah.
When Joe shows me these pictures of myself a few years ago, I can't even stand to look at it.
But randomly text her. Yeah.
It's painful.
Yeah. Just a reminder.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. All right. Here's a good one. And this is right along the same lines. What are we doing now to keep ourselves healthy in our 50s and 60s? I'll go first on that one. I think we've, for a long time, it was trial and error, trying to figure out what worked for us. But I think we've simplified things, so our nutrition is simple. The way we supplement is simple. Our hormone therapy is simple. We're not trying to be 25 years old anymore. We just want to feel good and be as healthy as we can for as long as possible. And when we look at, and we're still adding, so with our functional medicine piece that we're adding now, we're still adding because we can be healthier than we are now. But I think overall, what we're doing to be healthy is finding sustainable ways to be healthy as we age.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the one good thing I think that you maybe didn't mention was the cardiac CT calcium.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that I did that just because of the family history.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But I think everybody should do that.
Yeah.
Because if that's one thing that you can do to know, to prevent any heart disease, or if you do need to take something, I mean, it's a very easy thing to do. So I think if anything, add that as well to your longevity, treatment plan. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because, we've simplified things but we're still looking, but there are core things that I think we kind of take for granted that other people as they enter their 50s and 60s should absolutely be doing. And a coronary artery calcium CT is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
A lipoprotein A or LP little a
Absolutely.
is something. So
But
Jill's is elevated, and that's its own independent risk factor for heart disease that I've yet to meet a patient that has had that tested on them. Our functional medicine with our gut health and those types of things, autoimmune diseases are just running amok.
mm-hmm.
And there are things that you can do to help prevent that. So, I just take it for granted, but we just keep looking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think people think too, like testosterone therapy is just, testosterone is just for increased libido and things like that, but that's really not what testosterone is only used for.
Right. Yeah. They have one of two impressions, or probably the same thing, but in men, they're just doing that because they want to be buff. Look at me. I'm not huge, or women, they just need it so they can have a strong libido.
Right.
And does it help with those things? It absolutely does. But both of us know that it's a mood stabilizer.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, it gives you ambition and stamina to get up and get the things done that you need to do. And it's been villainized, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just another example of things that we have embraced as we are, in our 50s now.
I would agree.
That other people should at least consider, I
Yep.
think. Yeah. Okay. What's one thing would we want every listener to take away about healing or staying well? I think we approached that already with what we just said. But here's the one thing I want people to know. It's never too late.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. We're both thinking the same thing. You're never too far gone.
No.
Yeah. We talked about how we started our journey 5 or 6 years ago, and we kind of wished we had started it earlier, maybe. But
we have patients
it.
that have come in that have been much older.
Yeah.
And the transformation I love.
Yeah.
Literally, that's probably one of my favorite part of us working with them is seeing that.
Yeah. And I know you're thinking of some of the same people I am.
Mm-hmm.
And just to randomly pull one, we have a gentleman who came in who looked decrepit. I mean, there's no other way to describe him. His
Mm-hmm.
life had beat him down. It was way later than most people would think you should try anything heroic with.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't do anything wild and crazy. We taught him how to eat a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
We got him started moving his body more.
Mm-hmm.
His testosterone levels were low, as they often get as men age. And we fixed that. And that it just all clicked. And you wouldn't even recognize the
Mm-hmm.
before and after for this gentleman. He is an entirely different human being. And he was considerably older than you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the main thing I want people to know is it's never too late to start. And even if you've tried before and it didn't work, don't quit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. Final question. How do we personally take it back in our daily life? I think you already kind of touched on that a little bit when you talked about having to remind yourself every day.
Yeah. I mean, I do have to, you have to remind yourself every day that you have to go day by day. Like when it gets overwhelming, you just have to say to yourself, just today, focus on today.
Yeah.
When you're struggling with the weight or the eating, or even sometimes just the emotional part of the day, just don't think about the next day. Just focus on today.
Yeah.
And you can tackle it. You can do it.
I think people have heard how we kind of are trying to take back our life. And once again, we probably the best thing we do is we just don't settle, and we're still going through that. Initially it was a lot about big picture things, trying to be thinner and trying to eat better and trying to feel a little bit better every day, trying to get your diabetes under control, trying to get my thyroid disease under control. And now it's, we're working on our gut health, we're working on longevity. And
so I think that you can't just, it's overwhelming for somebody to think of all those things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and I think for me, I didn't do it all at one time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't, because it would be overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
So I picked one thing.
Right.
And for me, it was hormone replacement. I think I did first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did.
Actually, I think it was intermittent fasting first.
Yeah.
And then it was hormone replacement.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was struggling with my diabetes and all of that. But yeah, it's one thing at a time, one day at a time.
Right.
Don't let it get so overwhelming, because you'll quit and you'll be like, I can't do this.
Yeah. Well, not to plug our services, but that's why you need somebody. The things that we do here in our clinic are not wild and crazy. I mean, we follow guidelines. I would be happy to sit down with any expert and talk about the things that we do. What makes what we do unique is that we take all of those things I just talked about and we break it down into a step-by-step. Okay, first we're going to do this. And then when we meet that milestone, we're going to do this. And we hold people's hands and walk them through that process. And that's it. I mean, that's what you and I are good at.
It's the nurses in us.
It's the nurse in us. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the end of our little spiel together. And you survived.
Barely.
Anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. I mean,
yeah, we pretty well. I think we covered things really well. I would just like to say that I appreciate you being here with me through this stuff, because as hard as it is to do, I can't imagine doing it without you. There would be no way that we could help people the way that we do individually. Yeah,
I would agree.
People have come to know that, while we have fabulous staff, I love our staff.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and we're just one big family in general. If there's a day in the clinic where patients come in, to spend some time, just spend some time. If one of us is not here, I think
they get nervous.
Yeah, right. They don't like it quite so much.
It's usually if I'm not here or something, it's usually I've got family.
Right. Yeah.
Things.
Yeah, I mean, we have obligations outside of this, but the first thing people say when I walk in and, how you doing? How we been? And they say, where's Jill? I said, well, sorry, but you're just getting half the team today. Yeah. So I appreciate that. And I love you. And I'm glad you're here with me. So. Thanks for spending this time with us. If you're in a season where you feel like something's missing, your energy, your spark, or your connection, just know it's not gone. You can take it back, and you don't have to do it alone. If this episode spoke to you, send it to someone who needs to hear it, and we'll see you next time right here on the Take It Back podcast.